45 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, happy new year. It is so great to be back on this very powerful note. The Heart to Heart Live went on a breather since last year. You know, we did a retreat, some reflections, and some reevaluation, some appraisals. And after a couple of weeks, we are glad that we are back. And I believe that going forward is going to be more consistent content, life transforming content that relates to your life, your love, your marriage, and everything that has to do with your heart condition. Welcome once again to the Heart to Heart Live, the edition of Heart to Heart that is customized for our online audience. Today, being the very first we are going to be doing in 2026, we thought that we should talk about something a bit cool, warm, something about love. We're still in the season of love. And today's topic, we're going to be looking at the labor of love versus the flavor of love. What comes to your mind when you think about love? You know, I think that when you look at that topic, just the way most of us conceptualize love, you probably don't equate or connect labor to anything that's to do with love, but flavor makes sense. So when you think about the labor of love and the flavor of love, what comes to mind? Today, I'm not here alone. I never do Heart to Heart Live alone. We always we always do this with a panel, what we have now known as the Heart to Heart crew. And today I am going to be doing this conversation together with two lovely women of God, ladies with very um, phenomenal experience in this field. Today, we're going to be with married people alone. Not to say we're still going to have fun. So say, oh, I've taken somebody that wasn't married. But it's all right. I mean, we understand the flow. So today, very quickly, I want to bring to the listening audience the two ladies that will be joining me to have this conversation today. And they are not new to Heart to Heart Live. You probably, if you have been a follower of Heart to Heart, you probably would have seen them at one time or heard their voice. So, but today, they are with me. All right. So, right on my right is no other person but, like, pastorize her name. Just popularly called Mama Strong, and I won't tell you the number of years that she has been married, but she has a phenomenal marriage. She has a phenomenal experience when it comes to love and marriage, and we are glad to have the one of the pastors in the Strong Nation Christian Assembly here in Lagos. So welcome.
Thank you,
Some
Papa
people
G.
know it as AY, some people know as Ayo, some people know as Pastor Bangbade, Pastor Mrs. Ayo Bangbade. Some people just know her as Mama Strong.
I'm
Mama
strong.
Strong, you're welcome again.
Thank you, Papa G. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. It's good to be here.
Yeah, and right on my left is another very powerful woman. So this few 1 2 hours that is here, because every 1 hour she smiles the bank. So this one that she's here with us, we are very privileged. She is also not entirely new to the Heart to Heart crew. She's also married and with a significant number of years. She has experience. She has insight, and she stays in her own class. So we have in the building with us having this conversation, Mrs. Taji. What's the full meaning of the name?
Tajune.
What does that mean?
There is a reward for patience, just like Suriname in Yoruba.
There is a reward for patience. That's today. I've never asked what's the meaning. Mrs. Saji Ukeje is here with us in the building. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. Feels good to be here.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. So, very quickly, before we go into the conversation, don't forget we're going to be talking about the flavor of love versus the flavor of love. I'm going to give you an introduction, and then here we just dive deep into the conversation. You know what to do. This is Heart to Heart Live on Digits 1024 Radio. We want you, if you are a new person on this platform, you know what to do. Click the like button, make sure you're subscribing, drop a comment. If you want to ask any question, if you know any of our panelists and you want to give a kudos or anything, you have the comment sections to do that and to communicate and show some love to the our panelists that will be having this conversation together. Remember to share in all your social media platforms. All right, so let's go straight to this conversation. So, introduction. The concept of love from the point of inception. Most of us came into this world to see love from only one side. That's the side of receipt, where love is qualified or defined from the perception of how much is given to you. From the moment the baby is born, the perception of that baby about life and love is based on what he receives from a mom and parents, and as you're growing up until you come to adulthood. That is why after a while, those younger ones who are looking forward to become adults because they think adults have special privileges that young people, you can't do this, you can't do that, this adult that. So everybody like my teenage children now, I'm sure they're waking up every day. Oh, when am I going to be 18? When am I going to be 18? Because they want to become adults to begin to do adult things. Then you then come into that space, and then you then realize that this adult thing it comes with a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people start saying, no, I don't want this, your adults. Come on, give me back my childhood. That place where you just sit down and everything. And the construct here is that you suddenly discover that from the place of childhood to adulthood is no longer more about what you are receiving. Life now demands you to give. Yeah. And that's where the problem comes. You now the demand to be responsible. And a lot of people actually come into their relationship life. They come into marriagehood. They come into that space still from that, mindset of viewing love from the perception of receiving love. And so that's why it takes a lot to be very responsible. It takes a lot to be committed to a relationship because you now have to be on the other side. So, and then when you come into the faith, you also discover that the true definition, the very way you are introduced to love from God's perspective, for God so loved the world that he received, he gave. You then now see that the true definition of love is on the point of giving. And that's not the way, it's like a culture shock for a lot of us that I now have to be the giver when I've been enjoying receiving. And you don't want to turn the table. So the labor of love is from the perspective of giving, and the flavor of love is from the perspective of receiving. All of us like to be a receiver of love. Cross your leg and just be enjoying other people's consecrations, other people's labor. Everybody wants to play the soft life. Everybody wants to, we come into a relationship. You are like, what's on the table? Everybody's looking on the table. What are you putting on the table? And put on the table for me to collect, and how much I'm valued is based on what you put on the table. But you now begin to see another culture, another doctrine, another rule of engagement that tells you that if you really want to enjoy life and enjoy love the way it was designed, you have to begin to be committed to be a giver. So this is the introduction about the subject of the labor of love versus the flavor of love. But just before we now, dissect this information, let me ask, Ewa and Taji, what's your first thinking around the subject? If there's anything you want to first share as a matter of introduction before we give specific, examples. Yeah, Ewa.
Okay. All right. So from the our topic for today, labor sounds a lot like work.
Work.
When you hear labor, it's just like flavor is it for me and all that. But I think that's just the first catch with it. When you hear labor, it feels like it's a lot of work, and you see that I'm going to labor all through love and all that. And then you're just also looking at the other side, flavor. If love has a flavor, that would be good for me to have over just being in the labor of love. So that was just my first thoughts interacting with the topic.
Awesome. Thank you. Taji, what do you think?
The labor there is is strong. The labor there is strong.
It looks like when you think of love, you think of something sweet. Say something.
Yeah, you think of
soft
something
life.
sweet, soft life.
You know.
And you now add labor to it. It's a tough one. So on the flavor of the other hand, if you like to go with adding flavors to drinks or food, it's just an enhancer.
Yeah.
Something is already there.
Yeah.
You know, so this just adds to it. So it's just like a padding for what's already there. So the person is already have something to enjoy, and you just add to it. That's more like the flavor of love. But the labor, that's where the work is. That's where the, what's it called? That's where you put effort. Lots of effort. And it's always pleasant. It's always from a place of giving of yourself. Not always pleasant, not always exciting, not always enjoyable than the flavor.
Absolutely.
The flavor is the soft life part of it, soft landing.
Soft landing. So, all right. So, a lot of us want to, especially as we gravitate towards settling down. When people say, I want to settle down in life, we actually think about settling down from the perspective of I have probably labored all my life. Some people say, look, in my father's house, when I was young, this and this and that. When I now want to marry, I don't want trouble.
No stress.
I don't want problem. I don't want stress. I want somebody who will take care of me, pamper me.
That's the word.
And you hear a lot about this. People think about marriage as some form of reward for what they probably have labored in their single life, and they probably just think, okay, it's my lot, it's my portion to be rewarded. If I've served God well, if I've lived my life and served other people, marriage would be a time where I just sit down and I am receiving. Is that so? Do we see the challenge with that kind of thinking? Because all of us naturally want to be on the receiving end of love. Let other people be laboring, let other people be doing the job, and then, I mean, I'll do my bit, but I am more in tune to receiving. And right even before you become aware, or right before you get into a love relationship, you begin to see as an adult the very hallmark of adulthood. What is the real hallmark? Because sometimes you look and say, oh, they always talk about love now. They will go on because they will say scripture. Oh, I know they will say, for God so loved the world that he gave. That's God. We're not God. God has the capacity to love the whole world. But, I mean, I want to enjoy life. And anybody who is not going to, give me what I would use to enjoy life cannot be worth ones. And majorly, I mean, I'm not gender biased here. Majorly, there is a gender that naturally thinks in this light that I'm just supposed to come into this space to be taken care of. Love me for who I am. Love me at my pace, and all of that. But all of these things bring about challenge eventually in marriage. But let's start with from the point of adulthood. This particular concept is not foreign. It's not entirely even say a Christian concept. It is just what it is. If you are going to be an adult, if you are going to live responsibly in this space as an adult, you have to begin to see the labor of love as not punishment. You have to begin to see that is the pathway to being responsible. So even before you come into the space, some people are not in a relationship, they're not even planning to be in one. How do you begin to see your place in the family front? The labor of love? How do we capture the essence of the labor of love as you are growing up into adulthood? How does this, without even coming into the truth of scriptures yet, looking at life as it evolves, you can't continue to be at the receiving end. It just doesn't make sense. Something is obviously going to be wrong, said to be wrong with you, if you don't see life mirrored from the perspective of being responsible. And that comes with some work. We'll call it the work of love, but it comes with your work. I mean, share your thoughts about the hallmark of responsible adulthood. That's what I like to call it.
Okay, so for me with this, I believe that before we even start talking about getting into relationships or even marriage, there is a place of a whole being, or the place of wholesomeness. So if we're looking at a whole individual or an individual that is complete or on a journey of being your best before you meet somebody else, there is no how to take away the labor of work and the labor of love, or the work of love, because it is a journey of building yourself that it begins with. I usually say that the first point of practice of love or whatever it is that would even happen in a relationship or in your marriage or your home is your immediate family, the family in which you are born into. So if you feel like, because for some persons, even on that journey, they just see the work that they put in as being suppliers of love to the family as burdensome. And so you see or you hear some person say that, I can't even wait to get out of this house, thinking that my mom's stress is too much, my dad's stress is too much, everybody, I can't even wait to. So the things that you're supposed to most likely learn from being in that house and then add to yourself. Because for me, I believe that love is action. So if love is action, love is not just what we say. If love is action, it means that there are things that love will require that you do. So if you're having issues forgiving maybe your siblings, and you just feel like, don't worry, be doing anyhow, well, I'll soon leave you people in this house, I'll soon leave you people, and more like a threat, or you just subconsciously have it on your mind that, anyway, my time in this house will soon be up. That's what you will take into whatever relationship. So that journey with you as an individual before you even get into any relationship is very key. Knowing that wherever you find yourself at that particular time, you give expression to love. Give expression to the action that comes with loving people that are around you. And that doesn't mean that the people that you will have around you will always be on the good side, such that it would now almost automatically induce your loving them. People may not always treat you right, but your ability to learn that rope, when you are called, I also got to understand that when people always call you, in your immediate family, and they call you to do things, you usually feel like, okay, I'm the last born of 5. So growing up then, and then we used to live on a story bridge, and then, so usually when you say, Ayo this, Ayo that, and sometimes I just be like, please, everybody gather your errand. Anything you want to send me now. And let me just go. Just go and come. And that's why I just discovered that it takes a lot for anybody to be able to reach out to you to do something. So if somebody is reaching out to you to do something, it's because they see you as responsible. So if you refuse or you run away from that thing, it means you as an individual are telling them that you are not responsible enough to do that particular thing. So even if time constraints or whatever it is you can't, it's only responsible for you to be able to reach out and almost always look for an alternative. So I believe that on that journey of getting into adulthood, there are so many things that we'll journey with. We shouldn't see them as stress. Instead, they should be what will help us see and understand ourselves better, and then get into that action work of love. But most importantly, it begins with our immediate home. What you cannot tolerate with your parents, with your siblings, it's not, because sometimes you feel like when you get into a relationship and you just see that person, the love that I have will cover it. The family you were born into too. You love them because that was where you grew up. Those are people you grew up to know. So if you can stay in the same house with your siblings and family, keep malice and not talk to them, not greet them, not respond to them, you will most likely, if you don't check it, replay those things. So how we treat life before relationships is very key.
I'm coming to Taji, but I can speak from a place of prompting that there are people who are listening to us that are presently at loggerheads with their loved ones at home. Siblings, cousins, parents, and it's just because you think that these people are taking you for granted, they are enslaving you, they are maltreating you, you know, because all of us growing up into adulthood, we actually felt that our parents maltreated us. We saw work from the place of a sufferhead.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know which is the right English one there, because sufferhead is from the place of stress,
Yes.
from the place of punishment.
Yes.
Work is punishment, in fact. So there's a way everybody wants to be emancipated from that place where you are serving other people. You are the one washing the place. You are the one they are sending out. You are the one, any little thing, go and do this, go and do that. The flesh usually rebels. It just tells you that you are being punished. You are not appreciated. You are just a servant. I also come to kingdom principle. It is important to note that something is actually happening. I'm just going to pitch in here. That's why in most rich homes, where the kids of most rich parents are the ones that are being served by servants, by house help, and all of those people, extended family, you are actually, you see that eventually those other children that are exposed to menial jobs, that are repetitively serving others, they turn out to be better in the area of character than their kids. So you're actually training other people's children to be better without you knowing. Yeah. You know, it's just that most of the time we take this thing from the place of grumbling, murmuring, and complaining, because everybody sees work, anything work and labor as sufferhead. I'm the servant, they are the master. But we will soon see that truly, in the perspective of God and the kingdom, the servant is always the master. Whoever you are that is laboring now, that is serving you, is actually your God, it's actually your master in the eyes of God. So I want you to speak to this, that work, labor is not sufferhead. Something is actually happening to you while you are giving yourself to labor, even though it is paid. This thing will still dovetail into relationship and marriage, but we need to understand it from the principle, from the general principle of even coming to adulthood. Why this is painful on your flesh, why this is inconveniencing and sometimes very undesirable, you know, because you want to be free. If you give yourself to it, there's something happening on the internal. They are developing certain kind of skill set, certain kind of character that will be very useful for you in the future.
Yeah, exactly. Because growing up sometimes, you know, for our generation, there were a lot of things that we had to do. I remember mine vividly. I hated waking up too, because at the point, you know, I grew up in Benin, you know, then it was Bendel. So when they created Edo and Delta, my dad had to move to Delta. He was in the ministry. So we had to wake up in the morning and try to prepare everything, because he goes on Monday and comes on. I never liked it. But that was, when I grew up, I realized that was the opportunity for me to learn those things. I probably would not have learned some of those skills if I wasn't subjected to that. It was compulsory. You had to do it. You had to do it. And when you finish, you have to go to school as well. So I probably would not have. So some of those labels that we had growing up, or at some point, there's something I always tell people. Everywhere you go to is an experience. No matter how bad or how good it is. Some of us have experienced bad bosses. Some of us have experienced, but no matter that journey of your life, from a bad boss, everybody has experienced. I have experienced it, but from a bad boss, there are skills that you can learn. So most times, if you shut yourself out of it, or you shut your eyes, you will not get the skills that you need to. There's some, for me, I can speak for myself, there are some vital skills I learned from a very terrible boss. We didn't have a very good relationship all through, and we worked closely together all through, but there were vital things I learned that when I branched on my own, those were some of the things I used. So all of these things we see as labor, discomfort, and all that, they actually build character in us.
They build character.
They build character.
That's the word.
So because as you move on, there are certain things you will encounter. So it's the character you have in you that you'll be able to thrive in that environment. Be it work, be it marriage, be it everywhere you go. those things that your foundation is, it's a solid foundation that you have built. So it's best to accept, hold it on, and as you go along, because you will need it. So I'm just speaking for this generation, because they don't want to do that. Like you said earlier, I want a soft life. So as I'm getting married, I've left my father's house. I should be able to pay all my bills.
What's the meaning of soft life? Can we put it
soft life in the
image?
Gen Z, millennial, definition is no stress. I get everything. Somebody provides everything that I need. I really don't need to stress. I really don't need to do certain things. It should be given to me by right, because I'm in that space and that person is mandated to take care of me.
So soft life is like a pampered life.
It's a pampered life, no stress, no troubles, no worries. Everything comes. You might really not even need to work. Bills are paid.
Bills are paid.
You have maids at your beck and call.
Even
so
if
you
I have
just
to
put
work,
your legs.
nothing must happen to my mental health.
So you just have to sit in the morning, put your legs on the stool,
Yes.
have your green tea served, you sip, then somebody clears it. When it's time to shower, the bathroom is ready, you shower, you come back, you sit down, breakfast is served, you eat, and you just stand up. So that's the idea of the soft life. That day, that's the idea of the soft life. No stress, no troubles.
And to make it more destructive, there are many social media expressions of the soft life that the average person is exposed to. Like, when you are looking at a false life being painted to you, and you are like, I mean, this person doesn't have to. If they can have it, I can have it. But is it for real? Did God design life to be received or to be deployed from the soft life point of view? I want us to journey further. Now we're going to begin to see how these things apply in the kingdom. I said earlier that basically most often than not, the ideologies that play out in the world system is directly almost opposite to the ideologies. You can almost just turn it around in the kingdom. So while in the kingdom, the persons that is being served, the person that is enjoying the service of those who are laboring is called the boss, the king, the person living the soft life. In the kingdom, it is said that it is the person who is actually serving that in the eyes of God, that is your boss, it's your master. And it takes a while. Let's go back to the imagery of, I learned that there are living beings on this planet who they eat every day pounded yam, especially from Ekiti State. That there are still men who will not take poundo yam, the one that is made with machine. The one that is pounded. Even if you buy it from outside, the man can tell that this difference. Pounded yam was not pounded. They love to sit down and watch the women sweat it out and pound it. It's as if it's the sweat that falls into gives it a unique taste. Then they don't take frozen. You can't cook soup and put it in freezer and then warm it for them. They take their vegetables fresh
from the.
They are human beings like that.
Fresh from the stove.
Some women are ready like this. Let me not come across that kind of man in my life. But they are there. They are for real. So, and they're here. I mean, there are people, especially in the older generation, they're there. And some of them have passed on that gene to their children. So, may you not come across them, but they're there. The point is that there are women that, even though, yes, based on upbringing, they've come into a space where they will do these things. I'm talking of pounding yam, for instance, just as an example, and they don't even enjoy, of course, when yam is pounded, the soup is cooked, at the time the meal is ready, the aroma is all over the place, somebody is going to sit down now and enjoy the fruit of that labor. There's a woman that their joy, what they call reward, is actually sitting down to watch the person who is enjoying the meal. And some of us cannot understand that. As far as it's concerned, that's off ahead. Something's wrong with you. How can you not partake of this delicious meal? Your joy is just to see somebody else relish the meal. And that's why sometimes in marriage, it is said that some men, if they want to punish their wives, some men, I mean, in the older one, this Gen Z, you cannot punish them. I'm not eating your food. Say, I'm not eating. Before your very eyes, they say, sit down. You're not eating your meat. They will put the food. and consume it in front of you like that. So it's in the olden days. I'm hungry. I'm not going to eat it. I'm not going to eat your food. And the woman will start sulking. And then, the Gen Z wife, don't eat your food. They will put the food in front of you and finish it. But the thinking about that is the joy of having labored and watching somebody eat the fruit of that labor is like a reward. And it's important to see that from the place of principle, that there is actually a great sense of fulfillment that comes when you make sacrifice, and then you look at it, you are at the point sitting down and just watch people benefit from that sacrifice, just from the point of creation. After God created, the Bible says he looked back and said it was good. He looked at the works of his hands, the fruit of his labor, and he called it good. Even before they started, engagement. It just looks, this is beautiful. This is lovely. Just watching that, this is and some people are relishing and enjoying the benefit of my labor. So let's apply this, when it now comes to the issue of relationship and love, because these things can be abused, but it's important for us to understand it from the place of first principle, from the place of how it was designed. Now you are in a relationship, maybe not necessarily married. We can look at it either way, before marriage and in marriage. How does the concept of the labor of love, how should we deploy it? How should it be seen? Have this at the back of your mind. We live in a very selfish world. There are we live in a culturally strong community, that there's already the way women are perceived. Women already feel oppressed by culture. All right? So there are certain things that men see as their right because I'm a man. I've seen arguments and I'm trying to reconcile two people, male and female, and the man is saying that it doesn't even, I'm a man, you can't talk. I'm a man, if I'm talking, you keep quiet. I'm like, because you're a man. You cannot talk about to me. You are not the person's husband. You just feel that women are not supposed to be heard. They're not supposed to be seen.
They're not supposed to be heard. They're supposed to be seen.
To be seen. So just keep your mouth shut. When a man is talking, you keep your mouth shut. Yeah. So that thing is cultural orientation, all right? So there's a problem with that already. Yeah. And then, but you now come into a relationship, especially a Christian relationship, a Christian faith, sponsored relationship, where the concept of submission, of selfless love, sacrificial love is meant to be deployed. How do you, like Pastor Dami asked in the real, when we're having this conversation in the physical gathering, that how do you ensure that this is not abuse? How do you, because the labor of love is supposed to be that which anybody should constantly be doing. There's no end of it, because ultimately the reward is the Lord. The Lord rewards the labor of love. And so you continue to labor, keeping your eyes on the Lord, the one who rewards. So when you now juxtapose it with the realities that is in our world, in our culture, egocentric, culture-laden community for men and women, this thing can be abused. How do you navigate safely, doing the will of God without being abused? Is it even possible not to be abused on this matter?
Okay, so I think that the abuse side, so when we say abuse, in the sense that
I'm not talking about physical abuse.
Yes, it means that one person, at some point, one person might be
taking advantage
of the other person's labor of love. But I think that's we may not be able to totally rule that out.
Absolutely.
At sometimes, it will flip on both sides.
Yeah.
And but what I would like to say with respect to that is the fact that if we see the labor of love as contributing to a healthy system, I think it would help us appreciate what that really means. And I'll use some processes in biology as an example. Okay, so a healthy body is a function of working systems.
Yeah.
And those systems now play out and work with no one thinking that I am the one doing too much. Or I am the one doing less. For example, I heard someone, which is very true, said, now, I'm talking now, we're all here, everyone listening and watching, nobody is paying attention to how your lungs or your stomach is functioning. You just know it's working because it is healthy. When you start noticing that I'm feeling some pain, it means something is wrong. So a healthy body is a function of all other systems working well, playing their part, contributing their part. So it means that with the labor of love and the flavor of love, that's like a cycle. So you have a cycle which the end is the beginning, you're going. If you look at the process of respiration and the process of photosynthesis, what respiration is producing as waste is what photosynthesis is using. So if one feels like I've done too much or I'm doing too much and I say, okay, I want to just pause, you're going to create a problem in the entire system. And the balance of which we're even feeling now and all that. So with the labor of love and the flavor of love, so I feel like if we're approaching that, that's, if there's anything I'm going to take now, is when we look at the labor of love, we don't look at it from the place of I am doing too much, either as the giver or the receiver. When we look at it as a contribution that we are making to a system that we want to be healthy, I think to a very large extent, it would define how we respond in labor of showing that love. So if I am expected to labor in love by certain actions, responding to whoever I'm in relationship with, I should give that love, knowing that the supply of this love into this system is as important as how the person who is receiving the love responds to that love. So that cycle can continue. But when we pay attention to that word labor, it can be burdensome. It can be. So I believe that the way that the person will not feel wearied by giving that love is, you see that I'm supplying to a system that I want to remain consistently healthy. On the other hand, the person who is receiving knows that how I receive and how I respond also, because your response too will come with some level of giving. How you respond to what you are receiving, and that giving is in how you also show that you are giving your own labor. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So if my labor of love now, this pounded yam thing, this analogy that Padi used, and I'm the giver, pounding that yam and I'm giving, minus the fact that, okay, I want to sit down, say the wife is someone who sit down and relish the moment of you. Are you just the receiver? Is the receiver just going to receive that meal, eat it, and push the plate away? How you also now say thank you for this meal, and then also looking out for how you can also do something. You know that this person, the giver, knows that the receiver likes this thing and enjoys this thing, went all out to do it. You who is the receiver, you look out for what that giver too will enjoy the same way you enjoy that meal. Is your own response of love too to that person. So it keeps that cycle and you have a healthy system. Abuse can be there here and there, but when it comes to relationship, I believe that talking about it when you feel like it's tilting in one end, from one end to another, is another way that you can help to create balance. But you can't rule out the fact that it will be abused at sometimes. Yes.
I can tell you that. So as we wrap up our thoughts because of time, I want us to zero in on a very practical aspect of this conversation. You will expect that in deploying the subject of the labor of love, where you as we have just talked about now, people should expect that sometimes you will look like somebody's taking you for granted. You are supposed to continually and consistently continue to deploy the labor of love. So at some point, we also know that, especially from the perspective of scripture, you can labor in vain. In fact, it's a prayer that will say, may you not labor in vain. There are many young lads now that are laboring over a particular babe. They are going to labor in vain. They are going to sow for another man to reap. So there is, and I know no human being wants to labor in vain. If our parents do, some people are very intentional about the labor over their kids. They also don't want to labor in vain. It's a very constant, powerful prayer trust here in Africa. You will not labor in vain. All right. So, but we know people will labor in vain. We want to avoid that. Even in marriage, you can labor in vain. So she mentioned about, you see, this person, just between the analogy of the pounded yam and all that, the wife probably knows that the husband enjoys and relishes pounded yam. Either as a result of upbringing when they were cutting, you see his response. It's like some people's life, they just come alive when you do certain things. So you know that, this thing is the person's love language. How do you, so maybe it comes as a question, and Tajik can be thinking, how do you ensure, or the things that you invest in, because labor is about doing a certain kind of work, some activity around trying to communicate love. Let's just break it down that way. There are certain activity that you are constantly engaging in and increasing in to demonstrate or to communicate love to your partner. Who decides the content and the frequency of that activity? So I would expatiate a bit more. There are certain things that you think as the husband or as the wife, my wife, I like this on my wife, or I like my wife on to have this, or it's just your own preference, or it's just what you can afford, or it's just what you are you can conveniently communicate. You are probably not good in certain aspect, so you just face your interest. For instance, if you like your wife to have certain kind of outfit, you like to see her on that outfit, you buy it, you constantly buy it, but the wife may not be comfortable in those outfits, but you are constantly buying it because that's what you want to see. Is that the labor of love? Is labor of love determined by the giver? That means the content of that activity, of that gift, of that service. Who determines it? Is it the giver or the receiver? Do you continue to labor in the line with something that you know is not a priority, but you have just decided that this is what my strength can carry, this is what my money can carry, this is what I love, this is what I want to see, that's what I'm going to give you? Is that a labor of love, or you might be joining on laboring in vain? Do you get it?
Yeah, that aspect has an undertone of being selfish. What if she doesn't like those kind of outfits? What if she doesn't like it?
Well, you like it. You want to see the outfit on her. She doesn't like it. You probably feel, it's not trendy. Or it's not skimpy enough. Whatever it is. She doesn't like it. But that's what you like. And that's what you are invested in liking, because it's probably for your own pleasure. You are buying it for your own pleasure. She says, okay, it's a gift. Because we know that there are challenges in marriages right now. Yeah. Because the other person is saying, well, my husband does this, my wife does this, but that's not my thing. But anyway, it's a gift. That's what he likes doing. So let's just stay. But it's not getting to you, because that's not your love language. Yeah. But that's what the person is laboring constantly on doing. So even though the person is laboring on a particular activity, the other person does not feel loved, does not feel appreciated, does not feel seen. Because there is constancy of activity that does not resonate or does not reflect that this person is being seen or appreciated.
Most times, in that case, I think what they should do is have a communication about it first, because that can really go sour.
No, before the response, let's define what the labor of love that can possibly be in vain is. Then who determines the content, the activity around the labor? Is it the giver or the receiver?
Yeah, the labor of love that could possibly be in vain is, like you mentioned, something that the person doesn't really like. You know, but in receiving, especially in a relationship, I think we should understand each other. You know, there should be an understanding of each other to what you receive and how you receive what you receive and how you appreciate that labor of love. Because there are two ways I can receive it and say, oh, thank you, it's lovely, and I don't get to wear it.
That would be wahala again.
That's another one. I don't get to wear it.
Yeah.
So I think there should be some level of understanding and appreciation.
And if you don't wear it,
well,
that's a labor of love in vain.
In vain. And if I don't, and the person doesn't wear it, that's a labor of love in vain.
Yeah.
So I think the person that gives really determines, because there's no measure to a gift. My own idea is a gift is a gift. When somebody gives you something, the person gives you from a place. Maybe that's what they can afford, or maybe they just felt that, oh, I want to give I feel maybe this person likes this, or maybe this person needs this. So a gift should be appreciated in the first place, no matter the measure.
No matter the measure, no matter the
First
quantity,
of all,
it
yes,
should be
it's
appreciated.
a gift that should be appreciated first.
But it can be a labor of
It
love
can be a
in
labor
vain.
of love in vain.
So, and I don't want to labor in vain. So, as the giver, what should be my predisposition to ensure that the service and the gift I'm offering delivers the objective? It's not a labor in vain. I guess there are certain things I must be harmed with. Yeah. Certain things I must first labor in. It's like, I put the scripture that I think it's in Proverbs, that if you want to cut down a tree, you should first spend some time to sharpen the knife. Yeah. All right? You know, spend some time or else you will exact much labor. So I think that to avoid the labor of love in vain, there's a labor, there's a mental labor, there's a communication you should have, observation, to be able to discern accurately what makes the other person think. Then dive into that labor. Rather than just say, well, this is what I like. This is what I can afford. This is how I was raised. This is what they used to do in my house. This is Nigeria. This is Africa. Yes. I don't know where you got this your foreign idea from. And then you start laboring in something that the people will just say, okay, thank you. Oh, thank you, my sweetheart. But it's in vain because you are not seeing the reciprocal action that really lets you know that this person appreciates this gift or this service.
But there are two ways. One is somebody you know. If it's somebody you know, you actually know what you think the person would like. But somebody you barely know, you are going to get what you think the person likes. And might not even be what the person actually likes. So if it's in a relationship, either a love relationship,
in the marriage now,
a marriage, I think there should be some number one, communication, and number two, observation. You should be able to know what your partner likes, or be able to observe, because sometimes the labor might just be helping to do very little things.
Absolutely.
She's back from work, you know she's really tired, and you know some of us would still want to go to the kitchen, and you just, oh please, can we just order something? I know you're really very tired. Can we just order something to eat so that you can
order something is music the ears of any wife. It sounds like music. Exactly. No wife ever says no.
No, you can say no. So that's more like the appreciated labor of love. I watched something sometime about a couple. They were talking about the things that they like. You know, they are both well-to-do. So the husband said he noticed that anytime he sends her airtime, she's overly excited.
Airtime.
He has sent her millions of naira, and she says, "Oh, babe, I received it. Thank you." But every time he credits her account, she's over the moon.
Wow. Like, what does he do that in?
Just Just, oh, my husband sent me a recharge card, so I don't have to go and look for, or I don't have to press my phone to recharge. She's overly excited about it.
Interesting, very well.
So another person will say, oh,
when I use the money to go and buy filter.
You know, another person will say, oh, when he sends me, oh, millions of naira, sends me a very expensive gift, I'm excited. And that's a little thing that. And
I remember one of my friends in our community told us that one of the problems had his wife was that the wife wanted him. It's a fashion designer, so I think the wife too is in that space. He realized that, look, the wife expects that you should be able to go to a fashion boutique, for instance, and pick what you think I like, buy it and present it. He says, no, I don't have that time. Take the money that you have in my ATM. Go and buy anything you like. Doesn't want trouble. And every time he does that, she's not happy. So I'm thinking about it. That's true. I mean, if your man says, oh, take money, blank check, go buy yourself anything you like. She doesn't like that. She wants him to go to the boutique, pick the clothes and present it. And that's what, if he's not doing that, is a labor of love in vain.
In vain. So that's her own. That's what she feels is her own labor. So it differs with people. Some is the very little things, while some is a very big thing. If you've not done that very big thing, you have not done anything. And most times, if you look at the example, the bedrock of love is Jesus Christ.
Absolutely.
How he came and died for us.
Absolutely.
And that labor he did, I'm sure he wasn't expecting anything for us in return, besides giving our hearts to him. So sometimes labor of love doesn't really expect the flavor back or expect something in return. Because when we expect something in return, that's when our expectations are disappointed.
We all expect something in return.
Most times, we all expect something in return. And sometimes we measure the one we give to the one we should get back. We measure it. So but if you want to really look at it from that context, is giving without really necessarily expecting the same measure from the person. Like we spoke about earlier, it can be abused. Can it be? Of course it can be abused. The one that receives just, doesn't need that. I heard somebody say, what do you buy for somebody that has everything? What do you give to somebody that has everything? So that's another thing you look at. There's some women that feel, okay, what should I give to my husband when he has everything? What should I do for him?
Is there somebody that has everything? There's nobody that has everything. Maybe the person is so wealthy that he can afford everything. Yes. But nobody has everything.
Nobody has everything.
If you're really thinking, you will realize that he doesn't have everything.
And all of those people is the very little seemingly significant things that really excite them or make them very happy or value the things that you have done for them. So I think from the giver and the receiver. So most times, like I said earlier, if you look at the example of Christ, the labor of love doesn't necessarily partake in the favor. Like you mentioned, okay, there's some women that really, actually that pounding yam and all, there's some women that actually enjoy it.
Yes.
They actually enjoy it. So for them, they might not necessarily see it as a labor. They're just, culturally, take care of I'm just taking care of my husband. That's how she sees it. But from some other person, it's a lot of work. That's a lot of work to pound. That's a lot of work to, especially if you are a working woman.
If you're a Gen Z wife and you pound yam, please drop a comment. I've not heard of any Gen Z wife born from like the year 2000, thereabout, mid-90s, that poundo.
There might be some.
Pound yam, pound. If you know any,
help us. It's upbringing.
Have you met any?
I've not met any. Probably might be some.
Finally. I don't know any. So I mean, if you're a guy and you have been raised that way, please abort it. Abort mission. You are going to be disappointed in this generation. You better stick with pondo yam. That's the way forward. That's the new order. Get used to it and be happy with your life. Finally, the labor of love, who determines what is offered? Is it the receiver or is it the giver? How do you avoid laboring in vain, laboring in love in vain?
Okay, so I believe that how to avoid laboring in vain is making adjustments, communicating, and then making adjustments when you hear. Because over time, sometimes when you hear, if you get a when you get a feedback
from the other person,
take
your feedback, very important.
So feedback's very important, because like Taji said, if you buy it and the wife is, oh, thank you, I love it and all that, and she doesn't wear it, that's another pain to the giver, because you feel like she didn't appreciate it. I think I've shared this what's it called, story or something before. I had a colleague who went all out and I think got a washing machine for the house to more like reduce the workload of laundry for the wife. And then he got it and placed it in the house, and his expectation of appreciation was he thought that she was going to be everywhere shouting, thank you. You just saw it. And she was like, thank you. But she appreciated it. And her own response, but he felt bad that I thought you were good because, and that's another thing, yes. And that's another thing that I feel like when we are laboring in love, we shouldn't be the ones in that sense to determine the level of
our
reward or appreciation the person is going to be. But there should not be any, for me, I believe that there shouldn't be any big expectation, or like there is a specific way you expect that this person is going to respond to this labor.
That's dead to flesh.
So if you are waiting for that specific way and the person doesn't respond in that way, you will, and the person may really be very, very grateful. But you would receive the person's response as ingratitude, and it will be unfair, because you are judging the person's appreciation based on your own expectation. You used your own expectation and your own intention to get the gift for the person. You shouldn't determine the person's expectation. And that is not to say the response of the receiver in appreciation should now be nonchalant or without weight.
Say a good thank you very well.
Yes,
please.
You say the thank you very well, and if there is a feedback, I would have preferred something like, but it wouldn't be when the person is giving you or showing that labor of love.
Timing.
Yes. Okay, the person's feedback, because that's another thing again. You say, I observed that this particular dress, you don't usually wear it as much as you are supposed to be wearing it. And it's just that. And so the work, Taji was talking about observation. The work of every partner in the relationship is to also take out time to observe things. And if you think that you want to carry out an act of love or labor in love, I think that when we get feedbacks and we respond to it, the tendencies that we would labor in vain will be very, very minimal. So that feedback is very, very necessary, but not at the expense of appreciating what has been done. So it's important to make adjustment. And when the person says, let's not now hammer on, this is how I do my own. If the person says, try to make adjustments, it will just be a journey that we'll now do together to create that balance eventually.
Thank you very much. Time is not usually our friend. I've had a great time talking with Taji and AY today on the labor of love, on the flavor of love. I know that most of us are enjoying being in the flavor of love. I hope you now know that you need to consciously gravitate and port to being a laborer in the space of love. Let your partner be receiving from the fruit of your labor in this regard, knowing fully well that your reward is not exclusively of partner. It's the Lord who rewards. Say, my reward is in me to give to every man according as his work shall be. He doesn't forget our labor of love, even the one we have shown for his name, to his saints, and to our loved ones. So every one of us should be encouraged. I want to leave you with this admonition as a practice, which I am still working on for myself, but I came into it a couple of years back. Your default posture towards people, especially the people of God, your family, and more importantly, your spouse. Every time you see a request, whether the one that is prompted from within, if you have the sense of thoughtfulness, or when a particular request is placed on you from your partner, your default answer should always be yes. A songwriter that wrote the song, Yes, Lord, I say yes, Lord, from the bottom of my heart to the depth of my soul, yes, Lord. That should actually be the response of every partner to their spouse. Yes. Of course, it doesn't necessarily mean that that request will be carried out, but the person already knows that my request has a granting that is yes. Some of us, our first response, our default posture is no. Then they have to cajole you, they have to beg you, they have to do foreplay, they have to then convince you and say, okay, I'll think about it. It should be a yes. I challenge you to come to have a yes challenge where everything you are asked to do, you are requested to do from your spouse, every gesture, every request comes with a yes. Yes, consider it done. There may be challenges, you may not eventually get it done, but your posture should be yes. And there will be ones that your partner, some people, women especially, expect us to have their husband to be sensitive. They think that we are assistant Holy Spirit. You must be sensitive. You must be able to discern. I don't have to say with all my mouth. You must be able to know that you're not the man are supposed to have a sensitive.
Paying attention.
If you are paying attention to details, you should be able to know. A man cannot just rap that beg. What is your mind? Say it with your mouth. I'm not the Holy Ghost. So the point is, as men, as it is, you have to learn to demonstrate some sensibilities and sensitivity of the Holy Spirit, where you are able to know things ahead of time. So there will be promptings of the Spirit. You should say yes to it. If the Holy Spirit, if love is asking you to do something that your wife is not even asking, respond. Let your answer be yes. Stop being in the posture where you always say no. And any marriage, and I want to think about it today, just take the last 48 hours. How many no's have you given to your partner? How many years? If you are always having no, that marriage is is rocking the boats without you knowing. Take a posture going forward to say yes. It's a labor of love. Intentionally have a posture. Tune your heart to always be ready to say yes anytime your partner asks for a request. It is doing it in and out of season. That's how we're going to wrap it up this particular evening. Thanks for being a part of it. We want to particularly also thank all those who joined us and those who will yet watch this. Please remember to subscribe to Digit 1024 Radio. Digit 1024 and Digit Sound have presence in almost all the major social media platforms. We're on IG, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on YouTube, and Instagram. Just search for Digit 1024 and follow us for many more juicy content in 2026. I want to thank the media team that's behind the scene. You're not seeing. They are doing a very fantastic labor of love. Their reward is in heaven. Even though they will collect it a bit here, there's a reward. Yeah, I want to thank everyone who has, and I also want to thank our panelists today who have shared their thoughts and they have made today's conversation very, very impactful. Till we come your way again next week, Friday, I believe Heart to Heart Live has come to stay. You may have new sets of people beyond we'll just keep taking from the crop of those who have joined us over the years to come and share their perspective. And if you have a particular question or topic to share perspective that has to do with love, relationship, and marriage, or it has to do with love, relationship, and marriage, that's our focus here. Please send it to us. We'll be sure to look at it and come to have a conversation around it next week, Friday. So till we come your way again on this same station, in this same YouTube channel, please, it's Friday. Go let your hair down and relax and have fun today. Bye-bye. See you again next week, Friday.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.